Hey, this is David for Big Bits, and I would like to thank all of you all for continuing to watch the channel. I know recently you might have seen some notifications of some live streams, and it was just music. Essentially, what I'm trying to do by doing that, not only do I like to listen to that music sometimes when I trade, but I also am hosting that so that I can help my channel reach its goal watch time so that it can get monetized again. I rebranded the channel a while back and it reset all the data. So we definitely have more than enough subscribers. I'm just trying to get the watch time up, and doing that has been a really good way to do that. So I'm going to leave those running. If you see the notifications, you can ignore them if you want to, but if you want to hop in, let me pull up my channel here. You'll see what I'm talking about. You'll see these calm ambient music. These basically play music throughout the day, and it'll show a chart that I have created where it's going to show a couple of indicators, a 1 minute and a 5 minute chart, and the chat will be up. And sometimes I look at the chat and I'll respond to people who talk there. So if you want to check that out, please do. But I just don't want you to feel like I'm annoying you if you've subscribed and you're getting those notifications. Those are just to try and help the channel out. So if you could just go check those out, maybe leave a like on those videos or leave them running in the background with the music on or something if you like that. But anyway, I did want to talk about the news today because it's pretty big. The stock market crashed very badly. Let's go ahead and actually switch over to that. Switch over to the Dow. Let's go to the daily chart. And yeah, it's pretty bad. It went down, what, 7%, I think, at the very beginning of the day, and it halted trading immediately. So there was a halt on trading. It lasted 15 minutes, and there was no trading allowed for 15 minutes, which is pretty crazy. And you can see there was a huge gap down on the open here. And then once it gapped down, it really started crashing. Um, part of the real issue was during the day. There was just a ton of volatility. You'll see it gap down on the open here, crashed, it halted, and then price bounced, and there's a ton of volatility. So if you were actually doing well playing that volatility, you probably made a lot of money. But otherwise, if you're just holding in investments, it was a bad day, really, really bad day. And that really doesn't do it justice. It was absolutely a historic day in stocks. It was terrible. And many people leading to believe that it's going to start a recession. And honestly, we're pretty much, it seems like it's pretty much going to happen. There's a lot of other things going on. I'm not one of these big time financial guys who follows the entire, like, all the stuff out there. I don't follow the Fed and all that stuff, but I have noticed they did their emergency rate cuts, and they did some other things, and treasury bond rates are crashing. It's like there's a whole bunch of things going on right now, and it just doesn't seem like it's coincidence that the market is crashing at the same time after a 10-year build-up, a 10-year bull run to all-time highs up here on the Dow near 30,000. We'll go ahead and take a look at the monthly chart, and I'll show you what I mean. So the 2008-2009 recession started, actually, you could say, back in November. That's when the all-time highs gave up, and it ended in February of 2009, and that also happens to be when the Obama stimulus package was signed. So if this does turn into a recession and there is a long period of prices going down, and this is a recession, then looking for a stimulus package after some period of time to help the economy recover seems like it was actually a really good idea, and it did help. But as far as the actual prices go, this is a monthly chart, and you'll see this is a 200-month average on the red line. We typically use The 200 moving average is a pretty significant average on our daily charts, as well as some of the other smaller time frames, even the weekly. Well, even more so the weekly, it's a bigger time frame. But the 200 month is all the way down around 15,000. Now you'll see back in February of 2009, the prices fell well below the 200 month moving average, which is a very long time. That's many years of actual time for for a trade to have been open. If you were to actually hold a trade for 200 months, that's a very long time. And looking back throughout history, that's a lot of data to include in a trade. 200 months, that's a very long time in real time. So it's very significant. And you'll see these huge moves that you're seeing don't happen very often. We did get something similar back here, but it seems to be much more convincing that it's going to continue downward based on the indicators that we're looking at here. And it's crazy because the monthly chart, we're nowhere near close to being oversold, so it very well could continue down. And let's take a look at the weekly on the Dow, because it's very similar in a sense that we have these values where they're just continuing to drop, and we have hit the 200 week moving average, and we haven't done that since, when was this, in 2016, and that was the election year. So maybe this is something similar to that, but you'll notice the bands, the Bollinger Bands, stayed pretty tight there. They've expanded really quickly here with a lot of volatility, probably more so than back here. So that's something to keep an eye on as well. The 200 weekly can serve as a period or a place where it can bounce at. And I would probably expect something like that to happen this week. But if it closes down here or even below, it's probably going to lead to a full-on recession. At least that's what most of the people I've been following seem to be saying as well. Now, that's certainly not financial advice. It very well could bounce and continue on, but a lot of the fear is due to this oil crisis. I don't know if you heard about that, between Russia and Saudi Arabia, I believe, one of those Middle Eastern countries, where they're arguing about oil and just flooding the supply, and it's crashing the prices of oil. Just a lot going on, and I apologize, my head was probably in the way there a little bit. But you can see the Dow, the weekly, way down, and the daily really bad. Not only is the daily bad, the indicators also look kind of bad. You're going to have to hope for some sort of divergence here for a crash, for a bounce on the daily. But the stochastic RSI, the MACD, all are pointing pretty much straight down still. So it's going to take a lot of effort by people to prop this back up and pick it back up. And you'll see the moving averages on the daily look like they're going to be crossing over very soon. And those don't happen very often either on the daily chart. You'll see back here when they crossed over, this was a very slight decline on the moving average that had it cross over. And the 100 even went below the 200, but that was after a huge pickup in price. And going back here, there was another one. But it doesn't seem like this has ever happened in the last 10 years or so with this much volatility. So it makes you really think that this time really is different, and this might actually be a recession forming. So that covers all that stuff. It's a pretty historic thing, and I've already kind of talked about some of the things that went into it. But the headline from CNN Business does a really good job of explaining this. The U.S. stocks halted after falling 7%. I mentioned that. The oil crashes, I mentioned that as well. And I didn't mention the coronavirus that is actually spreading more and more so in the United States here. And you can see there are examples of businesses, schools, countries, even governments that are placing these sort of bans on what people can do colleges are moving their students, well, preventing their students from attending class in person and having them being educated online, which there's nothing wrong with that. Um, well, let's see. The other examples were the sporting events being hosted with nobody in the stands. They're preventing people from actually attending those, and I believe they said there are contingency plans in place even for like March Madness to where people would possibly be prevented from actually attending the games and they continue to have the games themselves. So it's definitely something very interesting, but a lot of this is just kind of converging all at once to lead to this big event, and there's no real end in sight because it's hard to tell when the oil issue is going to be resolved, and it's even harder to tell when the issues and the fear from the coronavirus will dissolve. There's a lot of people who are scrambling to hoard supplies. If you've noticed, where I've mentioned all of the people have been requesting people kind of stay at home, there have been governments tell people they can't travel, they can't do certain things. You're probably going to be stuck at home if it gets really bad where you live. So people aren't going to be out spending money as much as they were. Maybe they might buy things online, but that would probably be about it if you're stuck at home and the government doesn't even want you to go anywhere. So it's definitely something to keep in mind. If it gets really bad, people are going to be stuck inside and they're going to be told they're not allowed to go anywhere if it does get to that point. And I'm not saying it will, but there are a lot of people taking preventative measures to really prepare for that actual scenario happening. The numbers are increasing. It's in the news even more and more. Locally, where I am, we have had 4 cases confirmed in my state, and it seems like most of those happened over the weekend. So things are really accelerating where we're at here, considering we were pretty far behind in actually getting a case. Now, also related to coronavirus, the World Health Organization actually kind of mentioned cryptocurrencies. And you notice the transition there. I think that was pretty nice. They mentioned cryptocurrencies as a way to kind of prevent the spread of these viruses, such as the coronavirus, because you're not working with physical cash. And if you read the article, I'm going to try and put the link in the video description, but if you read the article, you'll notice that these governments have decided to take the banknotes from the people and store them in a safe for a period of time to let the virus die. That is because people, if they pass around money that has the virus on it, they're going to spread a disease. So, what the governments are doing is they're taking the money, they're setting it aside, letting the virus die, and then they can let the money go back out. But once the money goes back out, as soon as it gets in the hands of somebody else who was contaminated or even in the presence of the virus and it could have got on those bills, it pretty much starts the whole process over again. So they actually kind of recommended this contactless payments, and they did kind of mention cryptocurrencies as part of that, which is really good. And it's one of the things we've been talking about on my channel for a while are the central bank digital currencies. These are in development by pretty much every country right now. Some of them are even starting to test and performing real world tests. I believe the Bahamas have a specific island where they're testing. I believe we talked about that in one of our videos. And there's some others. I think the Swiss are also testing theirs as well. But you can see where in the future a completely cashless society, in the sense that you don't have bills, physical bills, could be a very good thing, so that you could actually transfer money without having to actually touch another person, where if something like this were to happen again, it wouldn't be quite as severe, where people are just passing things back and forth with each other. For the most part, I don't really do a lot of handling of things back and forth with people, but then of course I work from home full time, so I'm probably an outlier in that equation. But this is a really good article. I definitely recommend you check that out. You can also check out the coronavirus statistics. Just Google that and you'll see the cases. They're kind of starting to grow exponentially again after a phase where they had quit. And of course, people are saying that the Chinese numbers are completely made up, or well, maybe not completely made up, but probably not very accurate. So it's hard to tell the actual situation here, even if it isn't a high death rate on the virus itself. Even a very small death rate with a high infection rate is terrible. It's really bad. And I'm sure you've heard all this. I'm not going to go on to it anymore, but I really wanted to talk about how it impacted stocks, but how it also impacts crypto as well in a very direct way, uh, between the fear in the markets and also potential solutions to that fear uh, in the future. Okay, so other than that, there's a few things I've been working on. I'm not really going to go into a whole lot more in the video. It's kind of running long. We're at 16 minutes already. My bad. Um, the one thing I've been working on lately has been this sort of social media bot that I've been building for myself. I've been taking alerts that I've been getting and pushing those back out on Twitter and also on Discord. I'm going to show you my Twitter profile here. This is an example. I set up TradingView with an alert, and it passed all this information into this social media bot that I've created, and it's sending all of the information back out. This is, of course, just a test, but I have it taking a screenshot, also putting a watermark on it, and I think once I can find a good strategy or a good set of indicators that I can use for a specific alert, I'm going to set this up for several of the major cryptocurrencies and have it run full time 24/7 on my Twitter and also on my Discord. I made a specific channel for it if you're in the Discord. I apologize, you probably got a lot of notifications if you were logged in over the last weekend, because uh, I had it acknowledged everyone who was actually online at the time. So my apologies about that. But this is coming along really well, and I can't wait to share that with everyone. So if you don't follow me on Twitter or you haven't joined the Discord already, please do that. Otherwise, I think that's about it for this particular video. You can always check out my TradingView profile. I have a couple of videos coming up. We're going to be talking about a few different things. I worked on my RSI callouts a bit more. We added some alert conditions to those. So if you haven't already checked that out, please do that. You can actually set an alert condition based on whenever you get an RSI callout. Basically just an RSI oversold or overbought alert, but with one indicator instead of having to use the actual RSI indicator that shows up on the bottom of the screen there. And let's see, we also have another RSI callouts indicator that uses multiple time frames, multiple resolutions, so that you can require that not only the 1 minute chart be oversold, but also the 5 minute chart also be oversold. So it kind of helps me sometimes when I'm looking at the chart. When I see an alert on the 1 minute chart that it's oversold or overbought, sometimes you might be tempted to go ahead and make a trade there. Now, sometimes it works out a lot, but in my experience, it seems to work out even better when the larger time frames are oversold. And the ability to set those oversold levels to custom values makes it, I think, pretty helpful, except for the last few days where the prices pretty much just went straight down on Bitcoin. So, yeah. And that's one thing I didn't mention. We didn't really go over the Bitcoin price or any of that TA and stuff. We'll do another video about that later this week. I really wanted to focus on kind of the news of what's going on and what we're doing. But that's pretty much it for the video now. I'm sorry I kind of went on a little extra at the end here. But if you like the video, please leave a like. That really helps me a lot. Also, subscribing and actually watching the videos helps a lot. We always have new content coming out. And as always, if you have any requests, please leave a comment. I've actually been invited to the TradingView streams in beta, and I've tried that out. We're going to take a look at that again, and some of the mods and admins at TradingView have been in contact with me, and that's been pretty cool as well. But that's about it for today. I hope you all have a nice day. Well, actually, it's pretty late here, so have a nice night.